Hey everyone, let's rank the 2025 Best Picture nominees. This is essentially what my Oscar ballot for Best Picture would look like. Now, for most of these movies, I have separate videos on them and reviews, so if you want my extended thoughts, you can check them out there. But for now, let's just get into it. Starting with number 10, what's it gonna be? Emilia Pérez. Wicked at number 9. Listen, something has to be number 9, and people know this is the movie that I've gotten the most shit on. When my video came out giving basically a negative review of Wicked, that was during the time where everyone's like, holy shit, this is a masterpiece. And that's okay, but I'm not trying to play victim here, okay? I realize I'm giving an unpopular opinion about an insanely popular thing. Popular? Holy shit, I'm sick. So I get it. But I can't say that Wicked actually does something for me. I love all the performances from the main cast. Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, Jonathan Bailey, I think all give amazing performances. It's just that I'm so sorry, my Asian brother, whose name also starts with John, but like John M. Chu, you're not it for me, okay? I'm figuring that out. You're not it for me. In the Heights was not for me. Crazy Rich Asians, why wasn't I cast in that? Like, maybe I'm a little salty about that. I don't know. But it's number 9. I don't care for the look of the movie. That's been talked about forever. All I will say, though, is if this movie was projected to win Best Picture, you know what I would do? I would fucking cheer. I would stand up and I would fist pump in the air. You know why? Because I am rooting for every single other movie besides the one we just talked about. So, like, call me a hater all you want, but, like, I'm on your side here in a way. A Complete Unknown. I think some people think I don't like this movie. That is not true. I think this movie is like solid. It is a perfectly well-made, well-acted movie. But it kind of stops there for me. It does not go above and beyond. However, I will say this. I have been getting this like weird, like itching feeling to rewatch this movie. I really want to see it again. And that's something I can't say happens very often with a movie I give 3 stars on. Timothée Chalamet is in the middle of a generational run, and I'll be fully transparent here. I have a great relationship with the Chalamet stans. So if he goes on to become the youngest Best Actor winner in history, I think that's going to be great. But A Complete Unknown, it would be my number 8. It just doesn't stand out above the rest. Nickel Boys. This is probably low for a lot of people. And again, I'm just trying to be my true self here. I think 2 things can be true at the same time. I think this movie is arguably the most impressive movie out of this whole field. The artistic decision to shoot from a first-person point of view is something that obviously no other movie in this category does. And I think it is successful in that way. But also, when I'm comparing it to the rest of the field, it hasn't stuck with me in the same way that something like The Zone of Interest did last year. That was a movie that I saw last year coming out of TIFF. I had similar feelings walking out of the theater like I did with Nickel Boys, but it just kept growing and growing and growing until it became one of my favorite movies of that year. And Nickel Boys hasn't really done that with me. Now, I think there's a couple reasons for that. One, I did see it in October, and then it got delayed to December, and then it just kind of got lost in the field of all those release dates, and I think that's reflective of the box office of this movie. And 2, I'll fully admit, when I saw this movie, it was about a week and a half after I went to the ER for my back. And realistically, I should not have gone to the theater to see this movie, especially because Nickel Boys is a pretty long movie. But I did not know when I was going to be able to get a chance to see this movie in theaters in Arizona. So I pushed myself to go, and I was low-key in pain the entire time. Again, coming out of the ER with some back pain for like a 2-hour, 20-minute movie shot in the first-person point of view, it's probably not the best way to view this movie. So again, I'm being upfront about that. When I rewatch it, who knows where this will end up. But for now, I have to speak my truth. The Substance. This movie low-key goes hard, but there's something about this movie that prevents me from going above and beyond in the rankings here. It's one of those movies where I have so much I love about it, and then at the end of the movie, I just feel a certain way that prevents me from loving it. And then in the time that I'm not watching it, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, oh man, maybe it is better than I thought. And then I rewatch it, and then I end up feeling the same way. So it's odd. I'm all confused, basically. Nothing matters anymore. What is life? But The Substance has so many things I love about it. The performances are amazing. The makeup is awesome. The whole technical craft of this movie, I think, is incredibly underrated. And again, seeing this movie in a Best Picture lineup is just fucking insane. Okay, and I'll never get over it. Anything can happen now with the Oscars, I guess, in both a good way and a bad way. But with The Substance, this is a good thing that it's nominated here, even if you don't care for it. This is insane. I realize it has a very topical message and themes here. It's still an incredibly gory body horror movie that sprays blood everywhere in the last 15 minutes. I'm still here. So we are in like full 4-star and above territory right now. I'm Still Here is a movie that has benefited for me with more time being passed. Walking away from TIFF, I didn't think it would end up being one of my favorites that I saw at that festival, and yet here we are. Fernanda Torres really carries this movie for me. I think she's absolutely incredible in this, and I'm so glad she's nominated for Best Actress. And I just think this movie is great. It sets out exactly what it tries to do, and it really leaves an impact on you. It's just, again, for me, I'm not trying to pander here. I do prefer some other movies above it. But I feel like I've talked about Brazil in almost every single video for the past like month. But again, shout out Conclave. Another movie that benefited on a rewatch for me coming out of TIFF. I thought it was like a perfectly fine, solid, fun movie and nothing more. Rewatching it again, I did see more to enjoy about it. The rewatchability factor of it is completely there. It is just an incredibly well-made movie that moves with energy. It's kind of one of those easy watches, and I realize that might sound somewhat degrading for a movie like this, but it's just completely enjoyable. Like, I'm sorry, I just want to enjoy things sometimes. It is kind of one of those movies for me that I don't know if it has any one element that is exceptional, but it has so many things about it that are really good or sometimes great. And that's enough for me. The Brutalist. I've talked about The Brutalist a lot. I think the first half of this movie is like a 10 out of 10. The second half of it does bring the grade down for me, but I still really enjoy the second half, and it really leaves a lot for me to chew on, which I happen to love. And it really does put you back in the theater where I'm like, this kind of movie does not happen very often, and I'm just thankful for it. Adrien Brody is one of the best performances of the year, in my opinion. I admire the scale. I admire the sheer audacity to go for something like this, especially with its budget. I just respect the hell out of this movie, but also, I happen to also really enjoy it in a weird way. Anora. Don't let the internet fool you. This movie is incredibly well liked, and I am one of those people. I love this movie. It is still a really close call between my number 1 and 2. It's still very close, but I really love it, and the rewatch cemented that even further for me. Some slight flaws that I saw in the first watch completely went away in the second. I hate when people say star-making performance sometimes, but Mikey Madison in Anora is that, hands down. I love the tonal shift it takes in the movie. It's the best ensemble for me in a movie. Literally everyone is just at an A+, and even if you don't like this movie, it might save us from the most catastrophic result in Oscars history. And number 1, Dune Part 2. I can't tell what kind of legacy this movie is going to take on. I feel like it's almost taken off like a, well, of course, like film bros love Dune Part 2. And I think that is completely unfair. This movie is incredible. It achieves everything it tries to for the audience. And I've said this before on different podcasts. I do not need to wait a decade to recognize when something is going to stand the test of time. And I knew from the moment I watched Dune Part 2, this movie will go down as one of the best sci-fi movies ever made. I don't give a shit if that sounds crazy. I don't care. Okay, here it is. I'm putting it on the table. You can choose what you want to do with that. For me, it will go down as a classic. And that is my ranking here. You can see it up on the screen. Very cool, kind of. This lineup is still somewhat lacking for me, but you know what? I'll take it. Let me know down in the comments what your ranking of these 10 movies are, and I will see you all again very soon here. Later.